Welcome to the Stars Align Dramas and Dreams podcast, where the infinite sky meets the starry world of dramas. We're your guides through the cosmos, from heart-stopping queer love stories to straight dramas of unexpected love.
And every unforgettable moment in between that make us swoon, laugh, and cry. And of course, we'll sprinkle in a little stardust along the way.
I'm Nixie, your drama enthusiast ready to break down the best, and sometimes most chaotic, storylines, filming techniques, and the worlds we can't stop obsessing over.
And I'm Cyrus, here to delve into characters, themes, and symbolism that invoke emotion that resonate with us in powerful and lasting ways.
Each week, we'll explore the stellar journey of love, identity, and connection, one drama and one dream at a time. Today, we orbit the series Satellite, where we discuss everything a series has to offer. Our satellite this week is orbiting ThamePo, Heart That Skips a Beat.
So, gather your stardust, find your spot under the stars, and let's dive in.
Let's begin by taking a look into the stars, where we take a closer look at the synopses that captivate us and the stars on and off screen who make every moment shine. Join us this week as we stargaze into the captivating world of ThamePo.
But before we can stargaze deeper, we must start by discussing the basics. ThamePo, Heart That Skips a Beat is a 2024 Thai BL produced by GMM25. The show can be watched on YouTube and has 13 episodes with an average duration of 45 minutes each, which makes the show approximately 9 hours and 45 minutes long.
The synopsis reads, when Poe is tasked with documenting boy groups Mars' final concert before their disbandment, he inadvertently becomes the closest confidant of leader Tame. Despite his wishes, Tame's about to make his debut in South Korea, leaving the rest of the group, Daylin, June, Nano, and Pepper, behind, rife with misunderstanding.
But while short, honestly, not the worst synopsis.
I definitely don't think it's the worst synopsis. I do think it delivers what you need to know for the most part. Because, it delivers, what Poe is going to do, essentially. And then how he's going to become kind of close to Tame because he becomes the confidant. More than that. And then...
Definitely more than that.
That Tame... Yeah, and that Tame is set to debut in South Korea, though he doesn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that it just creates a big misunderstanding with the other members.
And conflict that they have to figure out. The show's so good. I'm so excited. Throughout the introduction of the episode and even settling into this show that we're talking about, I just in daily conversation, mainly with Nixie, only ever refer to this drama as just ThamePo, that sometimes I forget it has a government name, aka a full title. So having to refer to it as ThamePo, Heart That Skips a Beat was wild to me.
Yeah, I think everyone only ever called it ThamePo. I'm pretty sure not a lot of people really paid attention to the fact that it had more to the name.
And that's all we need. But it did take me embarrassingly long to realize that it is a wordplay for tempo.
Oh, I knew that immediately because I thought that was actually really cool. Because that was one of the first few things. I started this before Cyrus did. I started when it literally the week it aired. And I turned around, went to work, and told one of my coworkers about the series because I had yet to talk to Cyrus about the series. And immediately it was like, I love that their name is Tempo, essentially. And I was obsessed with that. And no, I noticed that and I just thought that was so cool.
I feel insanely stupid. But it's okay.
Hey.
That happens quite often.
I was just going to say that. It happens quite often for me too. So it's totally okay to feel dumb. Remember back in your sky? It's absolutely okay to feel dumb.
The stars that guide ThamePo shine brightly. Let's meet the cast and crew who make it shine. Our main couple is, of course, William Jacopat as Tame and S. Soup as Poe. The rest of the LYKN boys play significant roles as well. We have Nat Thanat as June, Toy Chayatarn as Pepper, Lego Ripipon as Nano, and last but certainly not least, we have Hong Pichapong as Dylan. Moy Atisha was the director as well as a screenwriter. She's also had these roles in projects like The Shipper as well as F4 Thailand. There were two additional screenwriters, Ping Pong Sowanan, who also worked as a screenwriter for Kidnap, the Thai adaptation of Cherry Magic, and F4 Thailand, and Kanika Towawanan, who also worked as a screenwriter for Gen Y. Cinematographer was Jop Supawan, who also worked on titles like The Shipper, F4 Thailand, and The Trainee. M. Acharya and Kongsam Thanatat were the music producers. M has been a composer for tons of shows like Spare Me Your Mercy, Last Twilight, The Bride of Naga, Be My Favorite, To Start With Love, Cutie Pie, Bad Buddy, Fish Upon the Sky, A Tale of a Thousand Stars, and Together. And Kongsam was a producer for Project Alpha, as well as a composer on shows like 10 Perfect Liners, Star and Sky, Star in My Mind, and Not Me.
And while there were a lot more talented people who worked on this show, we unfortunately do not have the time to talk about everyone, but we would like to further highlight some of our thoughts about the cast and crew.
There is so much crew listed for this show on my drama list. Like, we love to see it.
Love to give credit where credit is due.
But, like, I didn't talk about it in, like, above, but there are 6 editors and 4 producers of this show that I didn't list at all.
Part of me is like not surprised.
This show is beautiful, and, like, so many people added to that, and, like, you could tell, like, so many people cared about this show.
A lot of effort went into this show
Mhm.
for sure.
It's so pretty. Like, I usually don't talk about, like, music producers, but, like, this show felt like it deserved it because, like, so much of it revolves around the music.
Mhm.
So, like, I had to, like, sprinkle that in. Also, love that Kangsam has been since with these boys since Project Alpha. That's really cute, in my opinion.
It is.
But, like, talking about LYKN, can we talk about LYKN for just a little bit?
Go for it.
I love LYKN. If I'm being completely honest, before the show, I really only knew their music. I didn't, like, really know the members. I knew Lego, of course, and I knew Lego's just iconic. You can't not know Lego. And then I knew William specifically from the fact that he sung the Last Twilight OST, and I didn't know a single thing about the other 3, which
Oh,
I knew that they were there. I knew they were a group of 5. That, like, quickly changed as soon as I, like, caught up to where ThamePo was at, but when I started watching it, I, like, immediately, like, went into, like, a LYKN spiral. It was a good time. LYKN is a very fun group. Like, I was perfectly content with, like, not really having a LYKN bias, but, sometimes they choose for you.
all right. Which one did you end up biasing?
There's 2.
Who's the 2?
Would you like to guess? Both of them kind of surprised me. Both of them kind of came out of left field for me, but, like, I love them with all of my heart.
Mhm. Still doesn't help me guess anything.
I just came to a conclusion. I was like, what is, like, one thing that I can kind of, like, point her into the direction? I was like, one of them, and I was like, wait, both of them technically have positions that most of the time that you bias more than I do, especially early in K-pop.
Better not be fucking Hong. That's my boy.
Oh,
Back up. Back up. Hong's my
one of
baby.
is on.
Back up. Back up.
I
We're gonna
refuse.
fight.
Sometimes I will give in to you. This time I refuse.
Okay, so you have one bias.
No. I
You gonna finish?
and the other is Choi.
I
All to
expected
God.
him.
You expected him. That's interesting. Because, like, I honestly feel like Choi came out of more left field for me than Tong did. But,
I
like,
feel like Hong was left field.
really interesting.
Hong lines up in my field 100%.
I don't know. It's just Hong is so endearing. He's so precious. I didn't quite realize that he was your bias until just now.
Why do
We
you
don't
think
want
I
to talk
wanted
about
to?
it.
Why did you think I wanted to draw him so badly for for our drawing for our Jin episode? And you're like, you got it. You're like, no, you have to do that. And I was like,
You had another option.
no, I didn't.
I was talking about the promo. Like, you could have done Hong instead
But
of
how
Lego.
am I supposed to not do Lego? It's Lego. I had to do Lego. What's wrong with you?
I feel like both of us have, like, 2 biases. Like, if we share one. Because I refuse. I will. Sometimes I back down to you. This time I will not.
Hong and Lego are my favorites.
And then, like, Hong and Toy.
Oh, good. So I get Lego. I thought Lego was a fence bias, but I'll take Lego.
You know, I I was going to give you Lego if you let me have partial claim on Hong.
Okay, I'm glad you added the partial. I was fixing to say, he's going fence, bitch. He's going fence. For y'all who don't know what fence mean, we have like an inside term where fence for us is someone, you know, the saying on the fence about something. So if there's someone we both like, we're like, they're a fence bias for us, which means we share them. And so Hong is now a fence, but I always thought Lego was because we both really liked Lego, so I always viewed Lego as a fence bias. So Hong was immediately like my go-to bias because of that. I was like, Lego, can't count him. He's a shared one. And so Hong was my baby. And then now you're like, Hong. I'm like, that was the other reason I chose Hong because he's my baby. And I was like, he's not fence. And now he's fence. And now Lego's not. But you know what? I'll take Lego and Hong. Even though Hong's on a fence. But I'll take
We've gotta move on before before Nixie actually built up enough of a grudge to actually hurt me when she comes up in a few weeks.
There's no ownership anyways over these. So all that's a jokes. But yeah, he's fence.
As long as there's no threat to my personal safety.
You act like I would do something.
You have thrown stuff at me before.
When?
Was it Benji of BIG?
Benji?
I think Benji of BIG, you threw a ruler at me.
I could have seen that or seen that. That was a long time ago.
It's still in the forefront of my brain.
I don't think I hurt you with the ruler.
Hurt me emotionally.
Oh my gosh. You get scarred too easily. Dramas hurt you emotionally.
Hey.
And those are fiction.
Hey. We don't have to talk about that. Not yet, at least.
But unfortunately, we do.
Unfortunately, we do. We set the stage, and now it's time to delve deeper into ThamePo. Spoilers ahead as we start with a drama deep dive.
Let's jump into a drama deep dive where we navigate an analysis of key scenes, character arcs, plot twists, and emotional gravity that pull us deeper into the stories we love.
This show is honestly quickly, like, and highly risen the ranks of comfort shows for me. It's so it's a beautifully crafted. All of the characters are so precious. Even the menace that June is, and Dylan off in the corner, off being his moody little self. All of them are still so precious. Would not change a single thing about any of them. Like we talked about this earlier about how Nixie started this before I did,
Mm-hmm.
and I fully remember when she got to the scene of after Poe and Tame had like kind of re-recruited June, Pepper, and Dylan. That
Mm-hmm.
was the wrong order. I meant to say them in order, but Pepper came out first, and it's fine. Back into to Mars, and we just get like the like pan of like Nano being like sad that
Mm-hmm.
everyone else was hanging out again without him. Like Nixie straight up like texted me saying like Lego is sad and now I'm sad. And I say I remembered it, but like by the time I got to like that spot in the drama when I started it, I mentioned that like I felt like Dylan was gonna be like take a lot of time to convince to come back. Like in my notes, and then like right underneath it, I put, and I just remembered what Nixie said about Nano thinking he's being left out, and I've made myself sad. But like, and like, I just wanted to like hop into the screen and just like hug him and be like, "It's okay, baby. Like they're coming for you next."
Me too. I was like, it was bad timing for Nano on his part
Yeah,
being there. And I was like, baby, it's okay. It's going to be fine. I promise you're wanted. And it was sad. So, speaking of the recruitment of them, I do find it very fascinating how they recruited everyone. And it went like, so it went June,
June,
Pepper,
Pepper.
Dylan, and Nano.
Yeah,
And what I find fascinating about it was that after Nano, we actually still got another one. and that was Pepper, because Bree introduced Pepper's situation, because I find it fascinating while the other ones were hard to convince. He was easy to be convinced
Yeah.
because in his mindset, he was already ready to leave the group. He just
Yeah.
wanted to help. I almost said William, but he wanted to help him reunite the group. And it was so sad because he was like, well, you know, you've got Nano who can dance. You've got June who's good at keeping like
June was visual.
oh, was he visual? I thought he was just being a
June was
smartass.
visual. Honestly, it's that.
I honestly thought that was what he was trying to say about June. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But
But are you
and
really? No.
then you have Dalen as like the songwriter and rapper, and he was like, I'm useless, and Time's like, that's not true. You're the person that keeps us together. You're the person that makes all the plans. You're the person that makes sure everyone stays on track when we're all like, going haywire and like not, doing what we're supposed to be doing. And he's like, no, you have a purpose in this group. And he had to like kind of show him what that purpose was. So I love how it follows a pattern up until him. And I like how they did that because that allowed every one of the members, even June had one, every one of the members, even he was, because his was like a misunderstanding one where he was like purposely like made it like look like he wasn't interested, and like, or like how Pam realized he blocked the punch from that Dalen was fixing to
Yeah.
hit him with, because he knew what was fixing to happen, and he blocked him by being the one that made the punch. And later finding that, so that's his heart, that's his little arc when they tried to get him back. And so from June all the way down to Pepper, every one of them had like a way they convinced them to stay in the group. And I liked that because we kind of get a different lesson with each one, and it's brought to you in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that is one of my favorite things about the establishing episodes of ThamePo is the way that like we are brought to the dynamic
Mm-hmm.
into the dynamic of Mars, and like we are introduced to each of them as individuals
Mm-hmm.
in a way that we learn to care about each of them, and like they're not just tossed to the background of the narrative, like they're like woven in. And like, because like so many shows that have like groups, a lot of times like whatever members aren't like main cast or like protagonists or whatever are kind of like tossed to the side, and like we don't really get to like learn their stories. But like we got to know all of the members of Mars and like their like struggles and like why each of them like kind of like clocked out of the group, but like we're also like brought back in, and like I love that.
And like, speaking of like their establishment and like how we are introduced to them, what I enjoyed about it, you talk about how you like how we're introduced to each one of them. I like how we're or like not introduced to each one of them, or how we gain their story behind them. And yes, I
Mhm.
love that aspect, but what I love more is how they're presented at first, to
Yeah.
that leads up to how we learn about them. And that doesn't even just include the four, that also includes Tam as well, because I'm gonna be straight with you. Tam came off as an a-hole in the beginning,
Yeah.
and to Poe especially. And like, I honestly was never mad at Tam. Like, I was just like, damn, calm down. That's all I was. Like, I was never mad at his behavior because I was like, there's got to be a reason behind it. But
Yeah.
they definitely purposely made him seem like he was. And
Mhm.
I actually kind of liked that because it like
I
gave the
agree.
edge of like us when we learned, because like the whole first episode alone was the battle between Poe and Tam being parallels to
Yeah.
each other in terms of Poe's relationship,
Mhm.
because Tam was the parallel to his ex. And I love that, by the way, because
I agree.
we talk about parallels all the time because we love parallels in
We
stories
love
so much.
parallels.
It's, to me, a story is just way more beautiful if you have something that
Mhm.
reflects off each other. And I am obsessed with how, like, just in the first episode alone, with Tim's like introduction with Poe, and how like, because like the first episode is focused heavily on Poe's perspective,
Yeah.
because we learn about Poe's breakup and how like he got left behind after trying so hard to help his boyfriend, and then his boyfriend not giving him credit and then dump him, and like this whole issue, and he's like upset because he's like, you never cared to walk away, and he's like, were they even ever even upset, or were they even hurt that they had to walk away, kind of thing. And he's like,
Yeah.
they weren't. In his viewpoint, he was like, he never hurt, he wasn't hurt that he had to walk away from me. And then he meets Tim, who's like devastated, so he's like frustrated and he's mad, and
Mhm.
so he didn't even want to do the documentary and stuff like that. And he recognizes Poe as well, and so he like attacks Poe, and he's like, you're a fan, whatever, quit your job before I tell everyone who you are and that you're a fan, you snuck in here. And then that leads into the whole heated argument, because Poe starts taking it personally because he had been observing the members,
Yeah.
and he's like, you're hurting the members and you don't even care. And Tim's like, what do you know about me not caring about this whole thing, about walking away, because it hurts me to have to do this. And
Yeah.
that's when like Poe's like, is it possible for the person walking away to be in pain as well? And that's where it's a cool parallel, because like Tim was in pain to have to walk away
Yeah.
versus his ex, who clearly wasn't, because he gets introduced later on in the series and he wasn't. Oh,
Earn. Ooh. I
did not
I
like that
don't
man.
did not like that man, but, like and, like, why did you have to be played by Pepper?
your
Ah,
your poor
my
Pepper.
my sweet baby Pepper.
But no, I love that parallel.
And then, like, also, like, expansion on, like, that parallel
Mhm.
from, like into, like, the breakup scene in episode 11, where, like, Poe, like, is, like, very starkly confronted with, like, the pain of having to be the one who leaves.
Mhm.
It's just like, oh, that was so good. And I'm like, "Oh my god, that scene hurt."
What hurt more? What hurt more wasn't the breakup. It was when he found the letter by Tame that
Yes,
begged
oh my
him
god.
not to walk
Not to
away no matter what
yeah,
happened. And he did, and he didn't find the letter until after he had walked
after
away.
yeah,
That hurt more. I'm not gonna lie,
that
I spoiled
oh,
myself because someone had posted what the letter said, and I had read it before the episode ever dropped. And I was like, I was not ready for that episode, knowing what the letter said beforehand.
and even, like, in episode 11, like, where we get, like, Poe, like, going home to, like, his empty apartment that is, like, at this point full of Tame's stuff, knowing that, like, he's absolutely broken Tame's heart. I'm like, at least, like, I don't wanna, like, say it like that 'cause it's kinda mean, but, like, Tame got to go back to their dorm and have, like, all of his members kind of, like, immediately recognize something's wrong and, like, comfort him about
Mhm.
it. And but, like, that doesn't even last because, like, he's almost immediately isolated again from the members, and I'm like, "Well, fuck." So, like, but now both of y'all are alone and sad.
Small break. Can we talk about how depressed Tame looked when we did not get to see Tame again once he got isolated in the story,
Mhm.
because it was heavily turned around, focused on Poe trying to get reunited, which at first hated Mike for a second there,
Yeah.
until I found out that he was with them and purposely got him fired. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to side comment and be like, when I watched that, my immediate was thought, like, I get why he got fired, but did you really have to destroy this man's career that he had finally achieved? I was
Yeah.
like, he finally got to be a director, and you like said, fire him. I, I was like shocked. I was flabbergasted. But like, I get it. I get it. I get the purpose of it. But like, back to what I was saying, when Poe walked up to Tane, that was the first time we had actually really seen him since the isolation, other than like, the
Yeah.
clips, because we got little clips of like what was going on, but we didn't get like actual interactions until then. He looked like, yes, he was happy to see Poe, but it was like depression was riddled like against his emotions, because it was like you could tell he's been separated for so long.
Yeah. It was like it was like a little bit of like light coming back to his eyes that like hurt my soul. But like you said, like it also still was like the sad like a deep sadness. And I think that like goes back to the like clip where we see him in the recording studio and like he's like singing like this sad like love from afar type of song and like the producer's like, get in your feels about it, and then, like, kind of, like, imagining it as Poe,
Mhm.
and so, like, I'm like, I can only imagine him, like, thinking that, like, that's also, like, just another kind of wishful thinking of, like, it's, like, Poe being there and not
Mhm.
just some other owner, employee.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Ah,
There was so much to look back on this series
oh, yeah."
in meaning and depth wise.
Mhm.
You know something I think was cute?
What's that? I was gonna say other than the entire series.
Fair enough, fair enough. And the entire series was really cute. But one of the things, some of the things I thought was adorable in the series, and you know, we don't often talk about the romance for some weird reason when we talk about our dramas. But for
Yeah.
this one, there's a lot to say about the romance. It was really cute. And that has to be, I love how when before Tempo actually end up in a relationship, it's how Tem is portrayed in the
Mhm.
beginning as like he doesn't know much about relationships. He doesn't know much about love. He
Yeah.
doesn't even seem to know what falling in love is like. Like he doesn't realize he doesn't realize what attraction is, and you can tell that
Mhm.
clearly because like, you can tell this man like really started liking Pope very early on and had
Oh,
like an
yeah, yeah,
attraction, um, and I mean like romantically attraction.
yeah.
And it was so fascinating because, like, because he doesn't know, he doesn't realize his actions were purposely like leading on Poe, who has been in relationships and knows
Yeah.
what it looks, but it's supposed to look like when someone has interest in you. And so the way he kept behaving had Poe being like, "Does he maybe like me?" Kind of. And what I was obsessed with was because he was oblivious, he would do some of the most sweetest things. Like he did sweet things even after they got
Mhm.
together, but like his things he would do, like for example, I was obsessed with this when he got the phone number from
Yes.
Poe
Aw.
and then did not save it. And so late in the middle of the night, he rushes to Poe where he works in the little like the tailor, the little, you know, the dress shop, whatever. And he runs to him and he comes through the door and he's like, "Hey, I need your phone number again." And I was like, "I gave it to you." And he's like, "I didn't save it." And he's like, "Okay, then give me your phone." "No, I need you to just say it out loud and until I
I'll
memorize
remember it.
it." I was like, that episode, I think it's episode 2, literally ends with this man repeating Poe's number over and over. And it's just like I know love can be shown in so many ways, and yes, to a
Yeah.
certain maybe that could have been platonic, but like that was to most people a standard. That was so romantic. I
Yeah. Like,
would be so confused as Poe, especially when
oh.
Tim had a bad habit of like not following through with like the normal standards of like romance kind of thing because
Mhm.
he didn't know he was doing things that were very romantic because he didn't realize his own attraction until freaking June was like, "Get yourself together." Um, and they had to like talk to him and be like, "You're leading this man on. You need to get yourself, you need to figure it
And
out."
he was so just like, "Oh, no."
He was so sad. He was like, "Oh my god, have I been leading him on?" And then on top of that, when he needed to figure out if he liked him, he was like, "Okay, can we hug?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, and then they hug. And then he's like, "Why are you hugging me?" And he's like, "I'm just trying to figure something out." And I think I got the answer. And now he's like, and then he pulls back and he's like, "I just wanted to make sure I wasn't leading you on about anything. And
Yeah.
I want to tell you that I wasn't because my answer is I do like you essentially." And it was like,
Like, I swear, Tatum is unintentionally possibly the most romantic person I think across any universe.
I agree, because like, you get romantic characters, but somehow their actions are always intentional. His is
Mhm.
unintentional. Like, he
And
doesn't
that makes it
realize he's being
so much
romantic,
cuter.
and it's so adorable. Like, he's the most sweetest thing.
He's
Or, like, when
so
they did become a
precious.
thing or when they did become a thing and he finds out about the sandwiches, he goes immediately up to the thing. He said, "From now on, you do this sandwich and 2 of them. Like 2 again, but you make a completely different sandwich." He's like, "What's something your ex didn't like?" And
Hey,
he
like, what did he hate? That's what
and
I
then he'd be
want.
like, "Okay," he's like, "Make that." He's like, "I don't care if I even like it. I'm gonna like it now, just in spite and because I love you so much." So it's like, it's so cute.
They're so cute. Mentioning the June thing, I'm so happy that they did not make it a love
A
triangle thing.
triangle? I was so worried it was gonna be that.
I was so worried. And I'm like, let June just be a menace, please. 'Cause, like, that was my favorite.
It was so weird the way they did it because it led you on to, at first, kind of give you this idea that I think it bounced back between 3 different ideas. One was like, maybe he's just very overprotective of time.
Mhm, of Tame.
And then all of a sudden, it was like, "Okay, do you like Poe?" And then it's like, "Do you like Tame?"
Do you
It,
like
like
Tame?
it went
Like,
back and
what's your
forth.
deal?
And then we find out because, like, what really made us start thinking that he liked Poe rather than Tame, because at first it was like, maybe he's kind of possessive of Tame, and then it was like, all of a sudden we're getting scenes where he's overly trying to help Poe,
Mhm.
and it's kinda like and, like, him doing, like, the subtitles or doing other, other things, which he was doing things for Poe, and so it was kinda like, "Okay, do you like Poe now?" And so I'm so glad it works out, and it was just, like, apparently him just being a menace and trying to, like I think it was essentially trying to get Tam to realize his feelings even more so for Poe, and he's, like, kinda like, "You need to get yourself together, but I also know your personality. If there's nothing to push you, you're not going to realize your interest
Mhm.
in Poe quick enough. Like, you're gonna miss an opportunity." And so he had to be a little bit of a menace to get him to realize.
And I genuinely think that that is just June's personality of he's like, if I can mess with someone just for the sake of messing with them, I absolutely will because it's entertaining for me.
He did. He did it often.
It's so fun. June is so fun. I feel like I should have brought this up when we were talking about how kind of sad that Tame's story is towards the end. Like, it gets better. Tame gets everything he wants eventually, but it gets dark for him for a bit there. But, like, the fact that the entire time that Mars has been under Onar, he's been fighting for them,
Mhm.
and to turn around to where he, like, I believe he truly, like, gave up a little bit because he's like, "I, like, have, like, no more fight left in me."
I think he gave up until
Mhm.
Poe's introduction. Because when Poe came back in,
That's
it didn't
fair.
seem like I don't think he was still fighting when the documentary was being filmed until Poe came into the picture, and he was
That's
kinda
fair.
like, "This might be an opportunity for me to try to."
Like, Poe inspired him to get them back.
And then he had another downfall towards the end.
'Cause, like, everything they were doing wasn't working, and then his the whole thing with Poe, but, like, getting, like, him to that point, and, like, that's when, like, the other members were like, "No, like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna have to do it, like, we can't let Tame be the one who fights for us anymore, like, we have to fight together,
Like,
but
I
first we
loved
have to fight
how
for Tame."
but I liked how they were like, "We're gonna have to." Some of them were like, "How are we gonna pull this off? You know, how are we gonna find other people to help us pull this off?" And June was like, "Tam's been helping us this entire time. There's absolutely no way. Are you gonna tell me that
Yeah,
Tam can do it on his own, but the 5 of us
but
can't?
we can't do it together.
Like, we can't?"
Like, Tame's not that much more smart that Tame is not that much smarter as an individual than all 5 of us put together. And, like, honestly, they worked it out, like, and, like,
They did.
specifically Dylan. Dylan was like, "This is what we're doing." I was like, "Look at you go, Dylan. I'm so proud of you."
He had everything figured out. Oh, sidestep. Back to talking about their relationship just real quickly.
Always, that's fine.
I thought it was hilarious that the entire time they had a relationship, Poe was talking to his friend who was a fan
Oh, yeah.
of Mars, and he was like, "What would happen if I liked like Mr. B?" I like wouldn't give the name of who it was, and she thought it was someone who worked in the company. She had no clue that it was actually a member, to be honest with you. And it was
She's like, "You like Mick?
hilarious.
Disgusting."
Yeah, I know
Like,
that was crazy.
raise your standards, Poe."
Raise raise your standards. But it was hilarious that in the last episode,
Yeah.
she's like, "So are you gonna finally show us to Mr. B?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." And then he's like, "Here he is." And then Tam walks over, sits down, and she's like starstruck. He's like, "What happened to interviewing him? What happened to make sure he lives up to the standards?" And then she, like, full blown passes out in front of this man,
Yeah,
wakes back to, pretty sure she passes out a second time.
she does.
And so I thought that was so funny how she went it flew humbly under the radar, not ever knowing that he was dating and that the person, Mr. B, was the leader of Mars.
Despite pretty much walking in on them
Yes.
earlier in the series.
On top of that, how in the world did they not get caught? The amount of times
Yeah,
for the popularity of Mars, how did this man have the braves, the guts to go outside most of the time without a mask?
without a mask on, just, like
On top of that, you know how many memes people made where it's like, after the lesson where the company threw the other two under the bus, which we
mhm.
can go into later in a different thing, under the bus later, and fans were like, "Oh my god, so he can't be dumb enough to go outside without a mask or anything on." Literally the last part of that episode, he's out there with
Within the
Poe
same episode.
unmasked. We were like dumbstruck. They were like, "What?"
You, A, are so dumb, but B, you're stressing me out so much. Like, y'all have already gotten caught. You'll have already gotten caught, technically. It's just not public. And you're risking it even more? You're being even more brazen? Excuse me? It was wild.
It was. It was. It absolutely was. But yeah, I just wanted to comment that. That's all I wanted to say.
Completely fair comment.
Having explored a drama deep dive, let's shine a light on astronomical acting where new stars await.
Each star has its moment in the spotlight, but not every performance reaches its full potential. By dissecting astronomical acting, we discover the highs and lows of acting in dramas, exploring what makes or breaks these key performances.
Want to say, in terms of the acting for LYKN, they went
Mhm.
beyond my
So
expectations.
so much higher than I was ever expecting.
Because I wanna be honest with you guys. I 100% believe that actors can be singers, singers can be actors, but
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
all actors can be singers and not all singers can be actors. And so there have been some idol dramas where the acting has been kind of rough. Like, did I still watch it for my
Yeah.
children? Yes.
Yes.
But it was kind of hard to watch. This one, I'd have to
Yeah.
say the acting was fairly good.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Absolutely.
I think I think there were, like, occasional scenes, in my opinion, where maybe it was some earlier scenes. I think the good thing about Thailand that I feel like you don't hear much about, like, maybe I have to do more research over it, maybe I need to look into it, because who knows? Maybe they do it and it just I don't know, I feel like it's not effective. I feel like Thailand's got down pat what they call workshops. Like,
Mhm.
workshops exist, like, acting like getting the cast together, it does exist across everywhere. But I feel like Thailand somehow does it better where in most of the time they're able to prepare and get the chemistry built up and test it out
Absolutely.
before the actual scenes are filmed. And so there's not as much like awkwardness to it. And I know some people would disagree because they'll be like, this two actors, yada yada, in this series, chemistry was terrible. Yeah, maybe. But we're talking like there's so many companies, there's so many things
Mhm.
released. So like yeah, there's gonna be some with definitely awkward chemistry. But like I honestly have to admit for GMTV specifically, I think they've pretty much got it down pat
Yeah.
at getting chemistry and working it out before they film because like a lot of money goes into making a drama.
Oh, yeah.
And so you want to have that down pat or that's money down the drain. And no one wants that. No one wants to lose out on an investment in a series or anything because of the chemistry of actors. And so, like I said, I was kind of shocked by acting. I think there were times where maybe I mistook the acting style as bad acting, which is
Yeah.
very possible
Very
because I
possible.
think when Nut was introduced as June, something about his acting and it was I think it was his facial expressions that had me going, is it just me or this is kind of awkward? But in reality, the more I got to know his character, the more I realized that I think this was just an acting choice in style for the character's personality.
Yeah.
And so him being a menace was the reason why he had those facial expressions. And so I was like, okay, so it's not necessarily, so I was like, okay, so it's not bad acting and
Mhm.
that's why it's awkward. It was because I wouldn't say it was necessarily awkward, but I was like, okay, so it's awkward because it's like, it's his choice of characters, the way he chose to display it. And that makes so much more sense now.
It
So
does.
if I'm going to view it that way, then I'm going to say his acting was actually really good.
Yeah.
I wish we would have had more Legos acting.
Yes. I love him.
But I also wish we would have gotten more of Lego being expressive because I feel like his
Mhm.
character Nano wasn't really expressive. Like he was, which to me made his acting a little bit, I don't want to say stiff. Like that's a terrible word, but I feel like it didn't allow Lego like actual, not his personality, because when you're acting you're a different person because you're an
Mhm.
embodiment of the character. But like I feel like the potential for Lego wasn't given out as much through his character as Nano, and therefore I feel like I honestly actually didn't get enough of Nano to really have a full in-depth say about how he acted.
I, in preparation for this specific section, watched episode 0,
Mhm.
and that was actually one of the things there was 2 things that I wanted to bring up. Initially was one, but you talking about Nano made me wanna talk about it another. There was at one point where they're talking where Lego is talking specifically about the process of, like, differentiating himself, like, from Nano,
Mhm.
and, like, I don't exactly remember how he worded it, but at one point he was talking about how he was told, like, he was doing too much, so he had to, like, bring it down.
I could see that.
Absolutely. Oh, one of the funniest things to me was when Hong was talking about becoming Dylan and, like, specifically like, workshop, and, like, of course, he's, like, all smiles while talking about this, and he's just like I, like, went in to the workshop day 1. I was real nervous, I was excited, like, started talking to my coach, and she told me that she could not understand me.
Oh.
She told me that I had to slow down and speak clearly.
Oh, that'd be me.
I don't know if I accomplished that, because I still feel like I struggle with it, but she was like, "Dylan is, like, very precise and uses words that I usually don't use." He's like, "I'm" because, like, other members pointed that out. They're like, "Hong is a very simple man,
Very simple man.
and Dylan is out here using big words that Hong has never said before." I was like, "That is so precious, but so funny." They actually talked a lot in episode 0 specifically, about, like, the process that they went through,
Mhm.
differentiating each of them from themselves in as members as, like, individuals and as members of LYKN, going into the characters and, like, members of Mars.
Yeah.
That was, like, really interesting. 'Cause, like, they were, like, talking about how, like, the choreography is, like, vastly different from Lego to Mars. The music style from Lego to Mars is way different, and, like,
Lego to
that is
Mars?
mhm. Oh, LYKN to
I know we
Mars.
like Lego, but dang, didn't know the group's name got changed.
There was actually one more thing I want to point out. Toy, I don't know how much you know about them just as themselves. Toy, like, cannot it just endeavor in his daily life is, like, pretty much 95% of the time is beatboxing, and, like, I'm not joking. I consume so much, like, content. Toy's always beatboxing, but they had and, like, they it happened so much that they had to make a rule on set that after he got into character, he was not allowed to beatbox. To the point where he, quote, said, "I just wanted to finish filming quickly, not because I was tired, but because I wanted to beatbox already." Pepper isn't a true all-rounder because he can't beatbox. And, like, that is the funniest thing to me.
That's a hilarious way to wanna wrap up your scene.
Oh, it was good. I actually had a lot of fun watching episode 0, which I usually don't do. kind of like zero in on WilliamEst because like these boys, oh these boys will be the death of me. I swear.
I think they'll be the death to a lot of people.
They're they're adorable. They're like so many clips of like just William being jealous of literally anyone, including his members, being around Jesus, Est. There was also a clip from behind the scenes where William basically admits, with the biggest smile on his face, that Est not only taught him how to kiss, but that Est taught him how to kiss him the way he liked to be kissed. And like, boy, I don't need to know that. That's between you, Est, and God.
In Ez's defense, the reason he needed to teach poor William how to kiss, and it wasn't necessarily because he needed to teach him how to kiss, he needed to how to teach him not to kiss hard, that he made his lips swollen, especially when they went an entire day on set with intimate scenes.
He's just like really enthusiastic. What can we say? The way that this is also an episode 0, that, like, when casting was, like, completed and, like, Est met William for the first time, he was afraid of, like, not knowing how to, like, work or, like, act or like, connect to this kid.
Kid?
He specifically said kid. For this drama to be William's first drama ever, and then
Mhm.
Est is pluralizing est is wild. Not pluralizing, possessive. Possessing Est's name is, but it being his first lead, like main role, they
Mhm.
did so well.
I haven't seen this man since freaking Love by Chance season 2.
I always forget that that was him because like he's definitely grown a lot since then. That was 2020.
I didn't forget that that was him because I remember seeing him and being like, "Oh my god," because
He's
I
so
had a bad habit
pretty.
of calling him Gonhyun. Like I actually kept referring to him by his character's name because like I had just had him memorized because I loved his character in Love by Chance,
Yeah,
even though he
same.
barely existed.
Yeah.
Barely existed, but I loved his character in that series. So like I had a bad habit just calling, "Oh my god, Gonghyun," and then I was like, "That's not that's not his name. That's his character." So yeah, I enjoyed that he got a main role.
I agree. Going from professional swimmer on the national team at age 12, wild, to like several side roles, supporting roles, Love by Chance, Naughty Babe, High School Frenemy, to being the perfect Poe, to be fair. Because like I can't imagine anyone else as in this role other than Est. Talking about Est being the perfect Poe, I want to talk about how the fact that this show like was put on hold for 5 years.
Yeah.
They got this script, couldn't like lockdown casting, so they put it on hold for 5 years until what I can only assume with something like this in like Project Alpha, Williams doing his thing, and like someone just like sees him and goes, "Does that look like a tame to you?"
That looks like a tame to me.
That looks like a tame to me, and they were correct. From that, had to wait a few years to like find Poe, who the director has like come out and said was like the hardest person to cast, and like even to the point like where Est was like asked Pimoy, do you really think that I like fit Poe? Like, do you think I can be Poe? And she quote told him, "The character waits for the cast, and the cast waits for the character." And I'm just like, that's very sweet.
I feel like that shows the dedication for
Oh
how much
yeah,
they cared about the show.
TamePo was a passion project for every single person involved, and it shows truly because like this show is beautiful in every aspect.
Mhm.
We've journeyed through a drama deep dive and astronomical acting, but now let's explore echoes of the universe for one last perspective.
This is Echoes of the Universe, where the stories we love reveal deeper truths and ask questions about life, love, and the world around us, inspiring audiences to have conversations that go beyond the screen. I think the biggest thing to point out here clearly comes down to the fact that this was obviously pointing out to the music and like the idol industry itself.
The call is coming from inside the house. Going back to like the whole Pepper Gam of it all, like them being so quickly like sold out by Pamika and owner as a whole to quote unquote protect a more high value asset of like Tame. I hated that. But at the same time, we know that happens.
It's a very accurate
Hmm.
description of real life, and that's so unfortunate.
There are so many reports over the years of scandals that come out as just a way to hide bigger or just different scandals and like that it hurts to hear, especially like when like they are genuinely like try to like to be so careful. And the fact that you know Tame and Poe's shenanigans is what ruined it for them for a while. Tame, Pepper told you how this has to work to not get caught, and then he doesn't do that. It like forces Pepper and Gam to break up. That was so upsetting. Like I know that like we kind of in the end get like the confirmation that they are together again. I would have loved to like see like more of that because like
Hmm.
I need it for the healing of my soul.
Everyone did.
Like I will stick with the consolation prize of knowing that like they are together again. Also, love that after that the concert, Pepper is just staring at Gam's contact, and Nano reaches over,
Pushes.
presses the call
Hmm.
button, and then
And then June puts
immediately
it on
June
speaker.
pushes the speaker. I was like, that's my nosy ass June that I know.
He's like, you can call her, but we gotta be a part of it. We gotta hear it.
We all know. Kind of play into like the larger discussion of that the show brings out of like idols in like dating in general and the way fandom like plays into it. It's like the press conference that they had to do
That made me mad.
that made me so mad.
And it wasn't the press conference, it was the reactions of the
Mhm.
fans of how, oh my, they were relief that they broke up.
Yeah.
It was like a long time ago. And it was just like, how could you destroy someone's happiness
Mhm.
for your own happiness? And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that that's such a human
Mhm.
characteristic form of
Yeah.
greed and everything. And it's like, it was so frustrating.
Yeah.
It's like they are human beings. Like what in your mind thinks that they are yours, that they are a possession, they are something
Mhm.
that cannot ever be in a relationship or be someone else's position. Like, and it's just unfortunate because it's just how the mind works, and it's like human nature. I don't know. It's just an unfortunate
Yeah.
concept, and really happens a lot, unfortunately.
And the way that like Byfern, whose bias in Mars was Pepper, like her going from like when it was released to like being like quote unquote disappointed, which problematic. She gets there, she grows, and like because like in the last episode, she was like I feel like I was part of the reason why I can tell Pepper's not happy. Like you can see it in like I can see it in his eyes in this moment where he's finally like gotten his group back and they're going to be okay no matter what. Like this should he should be the happiest, but I can tell he's not. Having her like come to that realization, even like throughout the concert of like having like a seat like kind of adjacent to where Gam like would have sat, and like her not being there. I don't know like how to finish that thought, but just it's just by Fern. It is very unfortunately realistic because like so much fan culture is like parasocial relationships, and it's wild.
'Cause, idols heavily rely on fans. 'Cause, like, you don't wanna admit it, but, like, your popularity comes from fans. Like, if you don't have that, you wouldn't have been where you're at, and so it's so important to keep those said fans happy and not to, like, destroy everything with something as simple as a relationship because it's just
Yeah,
too hard to handle it, because that's why the whole concept was that you're in a relationship with your fans, which
yeah, which is insane.
never should have been a concept to begin with, but it is what it is in that type of community, and it's highly unfortunate. In that industry, it's hard.
Oh, yeah. I gotta talk about it. Like, GMMTV, so smart, genuinely. Like, in the way that they, set up, this, whole this whole show. It's like, this show was the trailer was released at, the their GMMTV Part 2 event in late April. But a few weeks before that, in early April, Charm was released, which was LYKN plus seasoned GMMTV BL actors Pond and Jung. But they released that, and Pond and Jung were naturally going to promote the songs to their fan bases, bringing in BL fans who may not be um who may not know LYKN to
Mhm.
a couple weeks later, after them performing Charm at said event, immediately showing the trailer for ThamePo is such a smart move. But then a couple months ago, with the debut of Project Jasper, which also had Jung and Pond in it, bringing the BL fan um Charm brought BL fans to LYKN, and when Project Jasper was released, it brought LYKN fans to Project Jasper, whose most fan base was primarily BL fans, and oh, that's GMTV is genius.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so good. I've thought about that so much and how just smart that whole thing is.
As we prepare to leave the stars behind, let's gather the stardust of our experience and share our final thoughts on Tempo.
First and foremost, the show so good,
Adorable.
so cute.
Well thought out. Well planned.
This is embarrassing for me personally. I will admit that I cry in media with my entire chest. But I was watching episode 13, and this never happens. But my grandmother from the living room came all the way to the back of the house where my bedroom is, where I was watching my little show, and she was like, "You've got to calm down. Your little giggle box, and it's becoming a problem." Fair enough. I will
I
keep my
I
giggles
wanna
under
know how
wraps.
loud you were laughing at this point.
It was just giddy. I was just giddy. It didn't help that I did have my door open, which I usually don't do. I was very called out. But it is what it is. Talking about things I really did enjoy. I adored the fandom around this show, and anytime they were talking about William or S, it was always that damn teenager and that damn swimmer. It was so fun.
That's hilarious.
It did originally start out with just William being called that damn teenager, and then it slowly encompassed Est as well with the swimmer part. But that was fun fandom.
I'd love to one day know more about how S got his role.
I do too.
Like, his thought process of, like, how he auditioned for it.
Yeah. Well, a fun thing about S is that he genuinely enjoys taking photos. So on set, he actually knew about a little bit about the cameras he was using as Poe. But even even knowing a little bit, the crew taught him a lot of extra little skills and stuff, to the point where
Oh,
there's behind the scenes footage of him using setting up tripods, setting up mics and lights, and actually shooting on the video cameras, and he had the best time, and that's so cute.
I love
That was
that.
that was really fun. It made him feel. It made like S portrayal of Poe really natural,
Mhm.
like in the cutest way. Another thing, I meant to bring this up when I talked about when I talked about episode 0 earlier, but he was talking about his character, Pepper, and he was talking about Byfern specifically, and Toy comments that she has, quote, excellent taste in choosing her bias, because it's him.
I fully believe that. Like, that is hilarious.
And, like, as someone who, like, slowly did become Toy bias, I get. I emotionally connect with Byfern on the bias front. But, and, like, the final thing from me, the way this entire show, like, the hype around it, had me screaming into the void, please go watch Only Boo, everybody. Please.
Please, they have been on this forever and will not stop being like, watch it.
If you need something to fill the void of TamePo, go watch Only Boo. Like, the group that is from Only Boo is in TamePo. They're in the same universe canonically. Go support Gump. Also, very fun that Keen was also in Project Alpha, had his idol romance BL to turn around for LYKN, who was the winning group from Project Alpha, to all star in a BL.
That's wild.
It's very fun.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Stars Align Dramas and Dreams podcast, where we meet amongst the stars that illuminate the love stories that light up our universe and connect us all.
If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and share your stardust and thoughts with us. We'd love to hear your comments, favorite moments, or suggestions for what we should explore next.
You can connect with us in the comments or through our socials, as well as our email that are linked in the description. Let's keep the conversation going under the stars.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep listening, and remember, love always shines brightest in the cosmos.
Bye!